Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you how to remove the brush assembly in case you want to replace it with one of the newer style ones like that one up there, or you're having issues, gear broken, etc. Some of this stuff you can get to without taking the whole thing apart, but it's much easier to take the whole thing apart. So like before, remove your brush, unscrew that, Phillips head, these 4 screws, take that out. Take the battery out just so it doesn't do anything while you're working on it. Now you want to take out this because that actually holds in part of this. So you want to take out this screw right here. They're the same on both sides. And these are sort of encapsulated screws so they won't fall out. Then you want to do this one and this one. Don't get confused, there's 2 more right here. Okay, that's it. The whole assembly comes out. It just plugs in right there. So if you need to swap one out, you just get the new one. You can see this one's had some miles on it, but what happens when they're used a whole lot, I had one that was, it was actually the same mechanism as this one. It was used so much that the grease went away completely here and heated up and it melted out here. I've actually made some 3D printable replacement covers. I think it's specifically for the red one because there is some differences between red and green and gray. I don't think it'll work on the gray one. So if I remember to, I'll include those links below. Otherwise, you can always leave me a comment and I'll try to add them. But yeah, this one eventually will fail. With good cleaning, this one will probably last a while. But that's it. You just take the new one. The gray one is exactly the same. Just take it back in. Tighten up your 4 screws. Put the battery back in. Put the cover back on. Put this guy back on. And put your dust tray bin back on. And that's it. That's all you have to do. If you want to get a little more detailed on this, we'll take these brushes out. Like I said, this one's really kind of gross. It needs to be cleaned, and we will take care of that. But this was a good one to show you as an example. The issues with these, you can see this one's got the problem already. Stuff gets stuck in here, they get hot, they melt, they do all kinds of things. They don't tend to like catch on fire or anything, they just get gross. And the grease eventually burns off, and then you get even more problems because they get hotter and hotter. So you can actually pull this whole mechanism out. This piece actually, you gotta be careful. This does pull off, but sometimes as they get older, these clips break, so you gotta be careful. This one's doesn't feel that bad. I'm sure there's a real way you're supposed to go about taking this all apart. Usually what I do is I just pull out one side, and then the other side. I'm gonna actually pop this one back in for a second. I think you have to do one side first. Yeah, this one needs a good cleaning, so what am I forgetting? Yeah, pop these wires over that. Then I believe you have a little more room to work. So you can see how gross these are. You need to clean them out sometimes. This one, like I said in the other video, I bought for about 15 bucks, so I'm not really upset with anything I find. It just needs to be cleaned before it really gets used, and every once in a while you gotta clean them anyway. If I were to guess, this one was in a moist environment. They definitely sucked up something they shouldn't have. This is never this dirty. So stuff like this may not be fixable. I do have parts to replace these. This is basically like a speaker that can tell if the brushes are turning. I'm going to clean this one up really good before I decide if I'm going to replace this, because likely a good cleaning will fix this one. Now, once you get that apart, you can unscrew all this stuff so that way you have a little more room to work here. I'm not going to go that far. I also think it's just 2 screws, yeah. Just these 2 screws and this comes out. But this motor sometimes fails. Like I say, I buy cheap ones as parts machines and fix what I need to fix when the time comes. This one, like I say, I don't know if this is going to be fixable, but I do have replacement parts. This piece itself might be bad, but the motors, they're probably okay. I mean, all of this stuff is probably okay, the brushes. You know what, we can go a little bit further into this. We'll take out these 2 screws, because we're going to have to clean it anyway, so let's make it a little easier on ourselves. So take out these 2 screws, don't lose them, put them with all my other parts that are important here. And once you take out those 2 screws, this just pulls up. There's also a little rope somewhere here, I think. Yes, the little rope is right here. I don't remember. This has a red thing covering it. Is it just a screw? Okay, this one I think is slightly different than my last one. So to get this out, there's a couple of screws here on the sides. I don't think we're going to have to take it all apart, but let's try this first. Okay, we're going to take these 3 out. Let me see this little rope thing. It's got a little piece of rope there. It's just to hold it so it goes up and down. So if you take out those 3 screws, you should be able to push this up and through. There you go. That'll be more fun to put back together, but all it is they just have it hooked up in here. So put that to the side. So that's basically the gist of this. One thing I want to show you, because we're in here to clean it anyway. Get some of that stuff off, one of the world's dirtiest hands. I'll show you the gears, and we'll see if there's anything really wrong with this one. Don't lose any of these screws. They are super important that you put these ones back exactly where they came from. I do believe it's the same as the glue parts, so if you did actually lose one, you might be able to sneak one off of there in a part that's not so necessary. Just I'm sure there's a couple you can get away without. So that's 4, 5, and like I said earlier, some of these mechanisms are different. So the alignment. Nope, there's one more. I missed it. It's covered in dirt. 6 screws in this one. So some are different. Some are 5, some are 6. As you can see, this one's actually not in that bad a shape. Usually they're way dirtier on the inside. So you can see most of the grease is still there. This guy goes here. I would say this one's got quite a bit of life left in it. If you could move some grease onto these guys, that would be best. You could also probably use some type of lithium grease or something on this. I'm not sure what it originally came in. It smells like just a regular old grease. There's some hair and stuff in this, which is gross, you know. But not the end of the world. So this one is in great shape. My last red one failed right here. This guy melted right through, and it was all because there wasn't enough lubrication on it. So we're going to just steal some grease from one thing and put it on the next. This one's got quite a bit of grease on it, so we'll steal some of that, put it there, and we'll cover these bearings too, so that way they're nice and good. So you can see which ones get all the heat. It's the ones that have the actual assembly. It's probably brass, or I'm assuming it's a brass insert, but as long as they stay greased, these are usually okay. So this, well, see that one came out too. This one's in great shape, minus the hair. You could clean it all out if you wanted to. I'm not going to spend that much time because I do have parts ones, so if I need to replace them, I can down the road. And as you can see, the Roomba Army, I don't really need another one right now. So this one will probably be put into storage for the time being. And then we'll go on with that. So let's throw this guy back together. Actually, I'm going to probably pause this video, go clean this part up a little bit, see if we can get some of that crap off of it. And then we'll throw it back together. So let's close this up. And I'm going to go clean this up, see what this is, see if I can get most of it off. And then I'll be back and we will put this guy all back together. And clean that too while we're at it. But whatever this thing went through, it was gross. They should never be in something that's dirty. If I was really ambitious, I'd take this stuff off before I clean it off. I'm not going to do that for now. So I'm going to go clean these guys up and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. I cleaned up everything. I'm not going to worry about putting the brushes in until we're done. They're pretty clean. The other thing to be aware of is these sometimes need to be lubed up. These ones should be. I'll probably come back and do that afterwards. Just a little bit of grease on them. It's just a brass bushing on a bar. So, okay, so let's put this back together real quick. Alright, so now first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little guy here and I'm going to feed him down best that I can. This is going to be fun. I assumed, like I said, the older ones, this one's got to be like an in-between model. It was a little string and it was slightly different than this. So I'm going to just put that guy in. I'm going to take the screws so it doesn't come out. And pop them back in. I also gave this thing a quick wipe down in general because it's not perfect. I didn't want to, it's going to get dirty again. I just want to get the big stuff out. I'm assuming they want you to take the whole thing apart to do this. That wasn't in my agenda, so. That's in. Now we gotta take this little plug right here and you just feed it down into this hole. It'll pop out there and then hold it in place and put the screw in. That'll hold the plug where it needs to be. Okay, that's in. That's in. You can see how clean this thing came out. Get a little weight there. Pop that guy in, pop that guy in, there you go. Back to where it's supposed to be. The only thing that concerns me here is this speaker is really gross looking. I do have a replacement if I need to, so not the end of the world. I'm going to run it as is and see how it goes. So you just pop that thing in. It should just plug in all on its own, as long as you have it in the right angle. And you can screw this back together. And I think the big problem with this one, and the reason why I got so cheap, was, like I said, this one was between 12 and 15 bucks, let's call it. They just didn't know how to clean the brushes. The stuff was just packed in there. That's the problem. It's gross, but I don't see the point of spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on these things when I can just get them inexpensive, do a little bit of maintenance, and I already know them pretty much inside and out. Most of this stuff is modular. the motors for the wheels and everything. This is modular, so it's pretty easy to maintain if you just have a little bit of time. So let's put that guy back in. Alright, next thing we will throw the battery in. It's going to turn on. Whenever you put the battery in, it goes, should make a noise. Apparently not this time. There it goes. Just not the best connection, I guess. So, not forgetting anything, okay? You just got to tighten down those 4 screws. Battery goes in. Just a little bit of grunge on this too. Get that out. Cover back on. I also cleaned out around this in between because you can see it's kind of gross. Now, as long as this thing really didn't get soaked at some point, there shouldn't be anything really wrong with it per se. The stuff in the brush system did make me question a little bit what this thing went through and a little bit of rust on the script. But it's working as it should. We just need to let it go for a while. I don't see anything actually wrong with it. Sucked in something. A screw. Sucked in a screw for this gas brush. I thought I heard a screw. But yeah, I mean, this one should be good to go now. If we still had issues with the brushes, it would be clicking and popping. But you can see the brushes are moving smooth. Just as smooth as the other ones. The other ones just need to be cleaned. But yeah, so that's that. So that's how you replace this mechanism. All we really did was take it out, give it a really good cleaning and put it back in. But yeah, if you ever see issues with the gears or anything that looks like it's melted over in this area, then it's time to replace it, or if you have any spare parts, replace the parts that are necessary, like the actual door you can replace. And the brass bushings and stuff. But more than likely, when you get to that point, you should switch to a gray, the gray one. This piece, this guy. I find them on eBay usually. They're usually out of the 6000 series. This one I got, it was brand new. I think it cost me $30 or $40. It's worth it if you think about the simplicity of these things. So I have 4 of them here. I actually had 5 of these. One I just used for parts, but in total I have, in the ones here, 100, I think that one was $30. This one was actually $5 or $8. And this one just cost me call it $13. It was $12.50, something like that. So, you know, $12.50, $8. So we'll call that 21, so I got $51 in these 3, plus a couple batteries. The batteries are $16 a piece, and $100 in that one. And that was more, this was sold at $620, I think it's a $630. This one I bought basically to see what the differences were, and there really isn't a whole lot. So I like these ones, they work well. They suck up a lot of crap. There are some pros to the newer ones. I think there's also a couple of negatives, just in the fact that it doesn't continue on cleaning other rooms and stuff. But anyway, yeah, that should be that. Maybe one of these days I'll show how to replace the wheels and other things on these. And another thing that would be fun to go through is the differences between the different mechanisms. Like I say, gray one is the best one. Go with that if you ever need one. Or do what I do, buy parts machines, take the pieces out of the ones I need to fix my other ones. But I get a lot of time out of them in between. Like this one being cleaned, as long as you clean it every once in a while, my guess is this one will last another 3 years in its current condition if you just do general maintenance. The only failure point I usually have is the gear mechanism in here. So that's about that. I'll see you in the next one. Also, there's shirts on the website. I will see you in the next one. And yeah, there's probably going to be a couple more things on Roombas before we get to any other projects. Because it's cold and gross down in the basement, so I'd rather do this stuff. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.